Good evening. Today is Monday, April 13th, 2026, and the Mid-Rogue Fire District will now call this meeting to order for a regular general board meeting at 5:30 p.m. So if we would call the roll, please.
Yes, Director McGowan.
Uh-oh. We got no volume. Can you hear us?
I saw he unclicked his microphone.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Tom.
I say we move on to roll.
There he is. We got you.
Director Benetti.
Yes.
Director Weidling.
Here.
Director Owenby.
Here.
And Director Jones.
Here. And Cassie Austin is present, right?
I'm here, I think.
All right, we stand with me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Flag.
Yeah. I started there too. I'm like, wait, where's the flag? All right, moving down to item 2, approval of the agenda. Everybody had a chance to look the agenda over? See anything that could change, omit? Actually, out of old business, I'm gonna suggest we remove district boundary update because we will move that into, that's actually covered in executive session today. So we'll strike 6A off the discussion for old business. Other than that,
I'd make a motion that we move to approve the agenda.
can,
With the modification.
yeah,
with
if
the
you could, yeah, redo that with the,
I'd make a motion that we move to approve the agenda with the removal of the old business number A.
okay, perfect.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, call the roll, please.
Director McGowan.
Still no audio.
Yes.
There you go.
Director Benetti.
Yes.
Director Weidling.
Yes.
Director Owenby.
Yes.
And Director Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, and moving into item 3, approval of the minutes. Everybody had a chance to look over both the minutes from 3/21/26 and 3/24/26.
I need to approve the minutes as they are. Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I didn't, so I'm not staying.
Abstain, okay. All right. Call the roll, please.
Director McGowan.
Yes.
Director Benetti.
Yes.
Director Weidling.
Yes.
And Director Owenby, you're abstaining.
Yes.
And Director Jones.
Yes.
So motion carries 4-0.
Okay, moving right down to item 4, Secretary Treasurer Report. I'll turn that over to you, Director Weidman.
It's going to be not lengthy, but a little longer than my normal ones. So up to date to 30 minutes ago when we put fuel in the Expedition, we are at $265,127.61. And since we've been in position out of our budget of $324,821, we have spent to this point $59,709.39. And then I have a little other thing I wanted to bring up. This was in the line item thing I started for the taxes. just to bring everybody on the board up to date. Of the $1.576 million, this is what has come out of it since the money was brought into the county. In 2020, on 10/30 of 2020, they paid $56,000 to the public consulting group for that survey they did. And then just before we all came into office, there was 3 invoices from Sorensen, Ransom, and Ferguson. Those invoices totaled $40,479.50. And then the special election cost when we were elected on 5/20/25, the county billed us $19,043.98 for the special election. I made a call to Rhiannon just to have her explain to me how that works. Because I said, I figure we're gonna have to put it in our next budget, because it's gonna be, she said, about the same again when Director Benetti and Jones come up with their 2-year term. So that'll be, somewhere she's estimating $17,000 to $20,000. It goes by the population of the district covered, the amount of people on the special election ballot, that's all positions, not just fire district, but it's divided amongst everybody in there. And that's how they do it. And I said, well, do they do it for the commissioners? And she goes, oh, that's comes out of a different pot.
Yeah.
And that's where that sits. So the total that was spent prior to us coming in to our positions was $115,523.48.
$523?
$115,523.48.
48 cents, okay. So that was
That's
spent,
what I have recorded.
that was spent prior to
Yeah.
us taking
I was
office.
mistaken.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you for that update. And that all went to the budget officer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you're telling we need a budget, 20,000 in 2 years.
Yeah,
No,
because-
no, there'll be an offset because the offset of 2 years, there'll be 3 on it. There's three that'll be up for election
And then 2.
and then 2.
Every 2 years.
Yeah, so in 27, there'll be 2 people up, and then in 29, there'll be
3,
people.
there'll be 3
people
up.
up.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be right in there roughly about
Yeah,
the same, but
about the
it'll be, so that needs to be a budgeted item every other year.
Is it possible to do this? Any month?
Our budget?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do that.
I will, that, so,
Yeah.
without.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you. All right, anything further with Secretary Treasurer report?
That's it.
All right, moving down, item 5, public comment. Anybody in the public wish to comment today? All right, hearing none, seeing none, we'll move right into old business. Mid-Rogue Fire District Budget Officer. So we obviously have the individual for the budget officer, and he's working on the projects, and we had this on here just to make sure that everything did get to him. I sent a list of items that he had requested, and then you sent the items on to him as well?
He gave them to me and I scanned them in a PDF and emailed it to him.
Okay,
So
so,
it's quicker and easier that way.
all right,
Yes, he did confirm it as well.
okay, good. He said as long as he had everything he needed, he would be good to go for the 16th. So he'll be here on the 16th to present. And that's the other thing, we need to make sure that we're all going to be able to be here on the evening of the 16th.
And Cassie, I'll let you know Ken Consiglio can make it.
Yeah.
Because originally it said he couldn't make it.
Yes, and last night I did just send out a reminder email
Yeah.
to the budget committee members,
Okay, good.
so.
Thank you.
I think it'd be good. Reach out to Jay, just a quick email, that, hey, is there anything you need from us? Kind of remind you it's coming up at the same time.
Okay,
Do we have his email?
yeah, yeah, I'll give it to you. Yeah, just see if there's anything that we missed that he still needs before Thursday.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't have was a hard copy of what the original grant was. I couldn't find any document with that on it.
Yeah, Good luck.
Because you get 1.5, but in the notes I have when you and I met with Ruth,
Right.
she used the numbers 1.576
Yeah.
million, and then she gave me a number, it's in the stuff I sent out, there was another number on there which showed more interest than what. you and
Yeah,
I
so
got.
at the budget, the original budget hearing that we were involved with, Director McGowan, Owenby, and myself, it was 16,
1,626,000.
yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
And if you take off that 1576, that's $50,000. And when you and I spoke with her, the interest, so where's the
Yeah, yeah,
number coming from?
yeah. It's, I still have those sheets with all the
Yeah.
interest on them for the 5 year. I think the 1576 was after a few years of interest already.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So anything more concerns or discussion about the budget officer and moving forward with that? Okay. We'll move out of old business and move into new business. And we'll start off with committee reports, and the first one is staffing, and if there's anything outside of what we will be discussing in executive session later, we can talk about that now.
I do have one topic to follow up through on. Excuse me. I have a contract for customer agreement for Biomed for running background checks as well as drug screens. I need the okay from the board to complete this application. I would propose either myself and or Director Benetti be the point of contact for background results and drug screen results. There is no cost to us to do this. As I mentioned before, it is through SDAO. We do have 5 background checks done for free through our relationship with SDAO. Current employee will be ran through, once we establish our contract for service with Biomed, it will be ran through under one of our 5 free reports a year. But I do need approval and the authority to move forward with completion of this customer agreement and confirmation on when a contract will be for Biomed.
Do we need a motion, or can we do without objection?
Without objection.
Okay. So I would suggest then, without objection, Director McGowan has the authority to make the contract with Biomed to move forward with the drug screening and background check. And hearing no objection, we'll grant you that authority, sir.
Okay, it will be submitted this afternoon. They will receive it tomorrow. They expect a turnaround regarding our customer agreement and established with Biomed as Mid-Rogue Fire District within 24 hours. Once that 24 hours is complete and I have an approval, I will then process our current background report through them and expect to have results within 24 to 48 hours. So ideally by the end of the week, I will have those reports to pass on to the board. Additionally, regarding the drug screen, until we establish an account with Asante, which may take some time, I suggest, as I mentioned, that we take Phil, escort, or go with Phil to Valley Immediate Care and either utilize a district credit card or debit card, pay for that so that it can be processed and complete.
Yeah, I agree that we can just do that, go to Valley Immediate Care without objection.
Yeah, I was gonna go down tomorrow and actually set up an account and so they had a card on file.
Okay.
Let somebody that could be with me to put the card on file, if I didn't do that one. But I'll have more tomorrow on that.
Okay.
But yeah, no objection. Get it done.
All right, hearing no objection, we'll do that. Director Benetti will establish the Valley Immediate Care process. Sound good, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Have anything further on staffing?
No, sir.
Anything on training?
Nothing to report.
All right, and communication, we have nothing unless you have anything you want to add, Ralph, for
No.
communication stuff? Okay. Policy,
We have it on the agenda.
yep, we have a policy on the agenda. Prevention,
Prevention, we've got a couple of things we're still, obviously need to get the stuff for the website. Thinking I want to try and link to Southwest Oregon's ODF page for fire danger. I just need to get the right link for you
Okay.
to post on there. Fire danger and IFLP, industrial fire precaution level. The other thing is the meeting that we had with Illinois Valley. I have not heard back from the state and haven't gotten anywhere with that next step. So I'm trying to get together with Cheryl so that maybe I can get her more involved in helping me get that information out. But we're starting to hear a lot more people talking about insurance dropping or requirements.
I've got a little information for that. My agent asked to be left out, a name be left out, but I was talking there the other day and telling me about homes within Josephine County, and we looked at ones inside town, outside of town, and this one company, Homeowners of America Insurance, they're using this company called Red Zone out of Boulder, Colorado. They're a wildfire risk scoring solutions for insurance companies. And in this valley, if you have a rating over 17, they won't write you. So it has to be 17 or lower. Give me examples on Dowell Road. Grandmother lives just up from Grange and can't get insured. But her sister lives up the hill on the hillside and hers is 17. So it's crazy what they're doing.
Is it because of the irrigation?
They won't give her a reason. Like Deer Creek Road in Selma, we just picked that one just to see. There was a score of 33. Soldier Creek Road in Grants Pass was 28. Finn, 3146 Flynn Court, Grants Pass was 17. Her parents live right on the river. They're 18 on Leonard. So they can't be insured. We ran my house, it's uninsurable, and I've got Safeco right now, and as long as I don't let it lapse, there's no problem. But this place here, I tried to find out who owns it, and there's really no information on them.
Is it redzone.com or net?
It's, let me get back here. All I put in was Red Zone Insurance.
Red Zone Insurance.
Long thing here, but they're out of Colorado.
And this is who the insurance companies are all using?
Supposedly this one, sure. American.
This one for sure, and then Safeco's just using whatever they're using. But
They may.
they're running the same thing. They're actually losing customers where Country, Country Financial or whatever, it's on that little short shot between E and F Street. If you turn to go to the post office, going up E, they're writing all kinds of people. But I think the price is sky high.
Yeah.
But I'm going to continue with her doing a little more studies on some of this to get some more information. We'll try to run some more out in the Illinois Valley because she insures out there too. And we can find out.
Yeah, that whole wildfire risk thing is getting a little out of control
Yeah.
with the insurance companies.
So, yeah, that's what we have for
Okay,
prevention.
all right. I do have something I wanted to bring by you guys, but I forgot it tonight, so I will just forward it to you in an email to you two, and then if you two want to move forward with it, you can. I forgot to bring it tonight, so I don't want to try to say what it is without looking at it. It was sent to me, but I'll forward it to you. All right, anything from the Vehicle Acquisition Committee?
We have a full tank of fuel fund.
And title.
What a title, yes, we did get the title for it.
Title is secure.
We have the E-plates on it now. It's registered. And not having good luck with trying to find somebody to do the graphic work.
Really?
The place in River Avenue, tried twice, Denny's tried it a couple times, no response. I went up to that wrap place on the Ballard Industrial Park. The guy was just leaving for the day, that was Friday about 1 o'clock. And so he took all my information, said his secretary would call me today, I haven't heard anything. So I'll follow up again tomorrow, I'm gonna be in town, so I'll follow up again and try to get something rolling with it.
The other is maybe go down to Lisa Woodruff's, Logan Design.
Logo design, see.
But
We could just get a roller and some paint.
Probably white, get a decal put on the door.
When I did my first dump truck sign dude, they actually did all the artwork for free, and it was a small charge for being able to buy the art. So I don't lose it elsewhere.
Which was good.
Yeah, but they were really good at doing that first truck.
We'll have to pay to get the Maltese cross in the right format, because what we have isn't what they normally use.
It's not a vector.
Yeah, right. So,
Nice thing about it,
can
once you
send-
get it set up, it'll be set up for the next vehicle.
yeah, set it forever.
I'll see if I can enlarge it to a door size, and then I have another program that I might be able to turn it into a vector. I just have to send it to my iPad.
Your other computer.
Yeah, well, no, the iPad has a program on it to do vectors,
That's
so,
all I have to do and stuff.
okay. We'll play around with that and see if I can get you that logo, Randy. All right, anything further on vehicle acquisition? All right, so move out of committee reports and into item 7B, Rural Metro Fire first quarter statistics. And I sent that out in the packet to everybody. Everybody get a chance to look that over?
Yes.
Did anybody have any questions on it? Did you want to go over in there at all with us? Okay. All right, I'll just, for the record, for everybody, I'll just read the count of the major incidents. So we had, in the first quarter, 36 fires, 25 hazardous situations, 233 medicals, 149 public assists, 4 rescues, 180 non-emergency calls, and 2 law enforcement, I'm imagining those are law enforcement assists. Yeah. Okay. So a total of 629 calls for service in the Mid-Rogue Fire District in the first quarter of 2026. So, thank you for that report, sir. Any further questions, discussions about the statistics? All right, hearing none, we'll move down to item C. 7C is the Dropbox usage. I sent out a flow chart per se on what's in there right now. Administrative office, those are all ones that are viewable by everyone. The board of directors, where we'll keep the agendas, approved minutes, bids and estimates, video recordings, fire prevention, again, viewable by everyone. So until an item has been presented to the board, it needs to remain in the RMFD committee section under your particular committee. And those committees are only viewable by the members in the committee. So staffing has Director McGowan and Director Benetti. Training is just Director McGowan. And I think I have myself on there right now, just so there's 2 of us in there. And then communication is Director Weidling and myself, policy Director Owenby and myself, prevention Director Owenby and Director Weidling, and then vehicle acquisition is Director Benetti and Director Owenby. And those are the only ones that can view files in those folders. And that way we keep everything separated until it's presented to the full board, and then we can move it into the board of directors. So in here, if there's anything you feel we need to add, let me know now, and I'll make new folders for what we need to add in here or change. For the secretary treasurer, Director Weidling, you need to go in and make those folders for yourself. And then when it does it, just make sure that you're saying share only with office, and on your shared only one, there is a selection. It'll ask you if you want to share it with everyone. I would say they presented reports and presented documents. Those would be like what you presented tonight. You made it, so make those shareable with everyone so that we can see those. But the top two would be for you and for the office only. So that way we make sure that nobody's viewing anything that they shouldn't be viewing before it's been presented in a public meeting.
Okay.
Do you see anything that needs to be changed?
No, I looked at it and.
Yes, it'd be nice if for these committees, if you could branch it out to who's happy on the committees. That's not an issue.
Well, I can just add the name.
Yeah, that is what I
Yeah.
did here myself.
Actually, I can only change the ones that I have access to, so you can go in and change the name on that folder if you want to just add the names of the committee members, and then the ones that I have access to, I'll rename the committee members. I don't have anything to do with that folder now.
No, I just meant for the sheet.
Oh, for the sheet?
Just for the flow chart.
Oh, for the
Just to
flow
look
chart.
at it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I thought you meant for the folders themselves. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can redo this and then put the names of the committee members underneath each one.
But
Okay, yeah, definitely, I'll do that. So add committee members. And then we can actually,
Board member forms.
yeah,
Okay.
committee members. And then we'll have this actually in the office also to be able to see, but we'll send it back out so everybody knows what's there. Do you feel we need to add anything more in the board of directors folders? Is everything there is going to be fine? Anything you want to add? Director McGowan? Anything you need to add?
So you're saying you got that lock for?
Sorry, say that one more time. You cut out.
Was there anything, any folders that you see on this flow chart that we need to add or change?
No, not yet. Everything looks good.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? All right. And easy.
Yeah, I just fixed the one you took you off of it. Or prevention.
Oh, okay, good. Was it still on there?
Yeah.
Okay, thought I got that one. All right, so moving out of Dropbox usage, and moving into item 7D, which is the presentation update by Phil Turnbull. You want that PowerPoint set up, sir?
What these take again?
About 2 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. Take whatever you need, sir. Well, let's see, what time is it? 6? So as long as, and it's being shared?
Yes.
Members have access to the
Yes.
document. And the PowerPoint is identical, just a different format. But with that said, the first thing I'd like to do is cover some of the basics around why it looks the way it does, and then kind of like philosophy, if you will, of how we do it. I think it should be understood that there's a lot of ways to go about putting together a strategic plan. And I firmly believe that as long as we work together on it, and it's a halfway decent plan, that is, that the most important thing is that we view it as a living document, we communicate with each other, we use it as a tool by which we share common terminology, set goals, and so forth. And that really is more important than what it actually looks like. Now, the content is important, however, but I'm very open to changing it from its format. I made a number of assumptions, And I'm not the least bit sensitive about having the board redirect me, is what I'm going with that. With that said, you might notice the brevity of the report itself, and that is on purpose, very much on purpose. This is a document right here for the board. It's actually, I'm proposing a two-part strategy overall. The second part would be the public face portion of it. And that one is the traditional, when you think of strategic plan. We've all seen strategic plans with the fire departments, and they're rather lengthy. One of the reasons is you can't make any assumption if the reader has the background information to move forward on. This particular version, the first phase that I'm proposing, does make that assumption that we have some common implied consensus on a number of items. Therefore, I'm not spending a lot of time on background here. I'm getting right down to the meat of it. And that's the reason behind it. I'll give you a couple of examples. Not really addressed in here is whether or not you're going to take our eventual plan to the voters. There's a consensus. And we spend a lot of time, like when I was in private enterprise, I get tuned out. I spend a lot of time telling the boss something that we already agreed on. He wants to get to the point. And so we're going to that. Another one is that rural metro fire has a role to play. That's obvious to us. We will have to explain both of those things in detail to the public. And that's part of the process here for the first phase, is putting together the package that we're going to roll out. It's not rolled out in a given day. In fact, I don't even like the time frame being attaching it as a plan for 26, 27. It's really just a plan to get us to the point where we've got the vote, because that is a milestone in our, that's a big deal. Our life changes dramatically one way or the other based on the results of that, and we know that. So this is the plan to get us to the vote. So we can't have it done, the day of the vote. It has to be done before the meeting. We've got to vote out. And it is done at any one time. It's multiple pieces, and they overlap and use all coming together independently. The plan, however, does have a mechanism for tracking, putting time figures, and putting out time to organize. So that's the framework that I've chosen here. And with that, let's go ahead and move on into it and run through it fairly briefly. Because this is really just an introduction. I wasn't planning on getting into the meat of it. I'll give you all time to digest it, come up with your own opinions. It's very, very likely that I may have even missed some large component as we look at this, and I'd love to get feedback. In fact, we'll need to share information back and forth. Now, one of the things that I would point out is there's already items that we've discussed that you'll find not in here, and that's because, in my opinion, they were tactical. They're embedded in a strategic plan, and of course, what's tactics at one level and strategy at another. So there's multiple ways to go about this. Gets back to our communication. As long as we're communicating with each other and we have a shared understanding of what the document says, we'll be able to use it to move forward. Okay. The vision and mission. I started with putting the executive summary. I've already covered everything.
Okay.
If you move on to the next slide, please.
Okay.
Sorry about that. The vision and mission. I believe these are extremely important. What you have right here is my version of what I would put out there, but I really want input on this. And I did give it quite a bit of thought, and I can justify my thinking behind it, but this is a pretty important statement from us. It's, if you will, even beyond the foundation. It's more of the philosophy in which we're even building a foundation. And I believe that there's meaning in it. As an example for I put in here that I'm recommending we set a goal as a trusted leader. And what I'm trying to do is not put so many platitudes in it. You ever read the vision and mission statements, you just make your eyes gloss over? They just grabbed every fancy word they could. Now, I know through action, more than statement, that a concern of this board is public transparency and following all the rules. Well, rather than listing out a lot of things like that, I think trusted says a lot. In order to get to trust, you can be transparent and not be trusted. You can be transparent and not be honest. So I thought that was good. I did a lot of soul searching about how, and looked at a lot of other mission statements. So I put a little time into this. I recommend, I request that you take a look at it and see what you think of it. But please be free about it. Moving on to strategic goals. This is really the heart of the document right here. And in the interest of brevity, I really tried to roll it into more of a who, what, how. If you really look at that. Number one, public introduction. We are very much known, we know it's probably implied that most of the public, if you said our name, wouldn't have any idea that we even exist yet, much less our role. So introducing ourselves and defining our role. And part of defining the role is defining the reason that we're here to fulfill that role. Goal number 2 is to develop the long-range strategy, and that's a very encompassing word because it's really more than just the document itself. Of course, a longer range strategy, post-vote strategy, implemented to move us forward after that point, making changes with the public support that we'll get should the voter back us. That's what that goal is about, and community engagement is really how we're going to accomplish that. So that would be the point at which run in public education campaign. We have to, this is where we are explaining ourselves. It interrelates to the strategic plan, of course. They all overlap immensely. Now, I have 7 strategic priorities. I chose not to call them objectives because typically objectives, you can have, there's going to be a lot of objectives in it. And you don't always achieve all of your objectives. Quite often you have objectives that they call priorities, and that's because those are the ones that are critical, identified as critical. I'm going to propose that all 7 of them I have in here are qualified as critical. We really need to work on all of them. So I just went straight for calling the whole thing priorities. The first one, well, a lot of these, as I've already mentioned, have a lot of overlap. They are hard to put in order because they're going to interplay with each other. In order to accomplish one, you need pieces from 2 other activities, 2 other priorities that are in here, and that will be continuous. However, with that said, item number 1 is right up front. It would be pretty much a day 1, and that is that we pull the pieces out of this plan that we need to do from a budgetary standpoint in time to marry them up with our budget committee and get them there. So we're a little bit behind the curve in that they're meeting almost immediately after this meeting, and we're not there yet, but that should be something that we're going to need to work on so that what we need out of our own nest egg in order to fulfill our own goals, we've taken that into account during the budget process, and we're not trying to move money around mechanically like that. So that one really is important to be right in front of you. Number 2 is the public and stakeholder introductions. I've broken this one down into 3 components, and that would be the first one is going to be to get out and do the survey with all of our peers, the stakeholders, the Zings Sheriff, County Commissioner, and I know that we've done a lot of work with a lot of them already, but we haven't hit them all. And we need to introduce ourselves, and what we're doing right there is building our support network. We're making contacts and sticking to it that we've got a base of support within the industry, related first responder, government entities, assessor's office, etc. Phase 2, we broaden that, and now we're going to get out and we're going to be communicating with community groups and other government entities that aren't necessarily direct stakeholders, but are still part of our peer group. This one is the portion of the communication phase where we're not just presenting things. We're not quite ready yet. we're gonna be doing this before we have the strategic plan. We may not have our dollar per thousand we're gonna go after selected yet. We may not have an exact understanding of how we're going to handle our standards of cover or deployment process. But we're in the process of developing that. We also need to introduce ourselves. We'll be going out there, this is a test the water period, where we are in fact communicating with community groups such as Kiwanis and Rotary, if we can get the audience with them. But this is a listening tour as well. This is one where we're going to be testing strategies and testing our proposals, if you will. We're going to be an opportunity to fly in with a semi-friendly group, again, let's assume that. But it's more of a personal, low level. We're not saying that we have all the answers right now, but here's the direction we're leaning, here's why, and here's as much information as we gathered to this point. And then we use that as part of the listening tour. We would also be willing to do public surveys in the same period of time. And then the third phase is where we've now culminated enough of it. I don't know that we'll ever have a point where we say, we're done, we're ready for the public education portion of it now. But at some point we will have to say, we're gonna go now with what we have. And hopefully we've gotten far enough along that we have a good package to put together. So we may not have the formal strategic plan even quite ready to go, but it'd be nice if we did, I'd say that. We're now going public. We're producing, we do the media ads, we try to get on Pajo and make the proposals about where we're going, why we're going there, again, who we are, and our role in it. This is the public-facing portion of it right there, our communication. That's priority 2, and it's got 3 phases, as I said. Priority 3 is the standard to cover. This, of course, is a language I know you speak, so I'm not worried about giving you background on it. Later, we will have to explain to the community. This has to do with response times, apparatus requirements, and how many personnel we know what the standard to cover is. And of course, the first thing we want to do is establish a baseline. Again, I think this is obvious. Most of you realize this is what we need. We establish a baseline. We look for gaps in coverage. We look for inadequacies, things that we think are within our reach, being able to solve. We're not going to go where any of us would like to go, where we'd have triple staffing, et cetera, et cetera. But what's realistic, and also what can we justify? What are the actual needs? And this would be the point also where we do a little bit of research so that we're not operating in a vacuum. We've got national standards we can fall back on, and of course, surveying what is normal for fire districts in Southern Oregon, especially, and where do we stand in comparison to them. All the material so we can roll it out and stand tall that this is a reasonable product to present to the public. So that's the standard to cover. The portions it doesn't handle, such as training requirements on rural metro, well, that can be handled in the next one, the long-term contract. As I understand, though, I haven't seen it, we have a short-term contract now. And I'm going to assume that we're going to need to, this is one of those implied assumptions, it'll need to be rewritten to look like what we want it to look like post-vote. And it should have quite a few changes in it. And this would be the time that we would do that. And that's also, as I mentioned, training standards, other operational policies that we may not address. I can't assume they weren't addressed, but I assume a quickly produced contract we have probably has some areas in it that when we revisit, we're going to strengthen those areas. So that's priority 4. Priority 5 is the pro forma budget. That's the other portion of the long-range plan, what we're going to present to the public. It, of course, interplays directly off, these things interplay. It directly plays off of the rural metro contract and the standards cover. All of those interplay. And we're not going to be able to select what we're going to take to the voters in terms of the dollar per thousand until we get all of that put together and then feed it into a pro forma budget. And everybody understand what a pro forma budget is? Just a fake one. It's what things will look like if.
Oh.
That's really it. So it's not the current budget, it's not our own budget, it's if we manage to get voter approval on this plan, then here's the budget that'll go with it. And the standards of coverage describe what we'll do with it, with the contract, with our letter. Priorities based is one of them I mentioned during my interview, and that's our position platform. This is more in depth and not necessarily something that I see attaching directly into the strategic plan. This is more of an addendum to the strategic plan, and I think it's absolutely necessary. And I think I can repeat myself. You probably heard what I had to say about purpose behind it for consistency, and you pull multiple tiers of types of communication on the same document. So this is the position platform. And then number 7 is wrapping it all up into a plan itself, which makes me see that I should have put the addendum to the plan. 6 and 7 should be switched. But short of that, they're both there. Now, the implementation timeline, which is the next slide, just has an example of the Gantt chart. This will be right along with the budget process. Priority number 1, right along with it, because you won't be able to do the budget process until you see what expenditures we're estimating we need in what order, when, and then we can work as a board on the how much portion of it. I wouldn't even, when putting this together, I'm going to be more concerned with putting the initial Gantt chart together with the flow itself. We can fill in the numbers later. Then later, as we actually convert them into tasks, then we have assignments and nail down timelines. Is there anybody that has not worked with the Gantt chart before? Okay, pretty cool. I'm just recommending that is the tool that we create pretty much starting immediately, because we're going to need it to guide what we're asking for from the budget committee. Summaries are fluff that I don't believe in. No. I said I wasn't doing that. Really, if you didn't put any fluff in, the whole report was bullet points. So there's always compromise. You put enough in to try to get us on the same page. But as I said, this document is for us, and while I do understand the document developer, the intent is to put us on the same page and communicate. Beginning 15 pages of stuff you already know, and platitude after platitude, the way that they're written. Nothing, the normal street playing kind of drives me crazy. Even a well-written one will limit the fluff in it, and you do that to provide a lot of information. If you have to assume no knowledge when you're reading it originally. I didn't have to make that assumption here. That's the direction I'm proposing we go in right now. Start with phase 1, get our act together, and phase 2 is getting our act together. Yeah. So this is more of a roadmap for how to get our act together. And that's my proposal for our current strategic plan to operate under. Questions?
You mentioned no timelines were built into this plan as of right now.
Correct.
But when, in the big picture, when are you thinking the voters would get the chance to vote on this? Are you thinking 27, 28?
Well, just going off of conversations I've had outside of this body, just in general, it's looking to me, and I'm injecting personal opinion here, like we're probably not going to be able to go in May. And I guess bluntly, I'm saying that because I'm not sure we're going to go in, up against the sheriff's levy, and we want to support them, and we don't want to interfere with that. That puts us off to the earliest one then being about 18 months from now. That would be late in 27. Either that or the next May. And again, all I'm doing is giving my personal opinion. And I do understand that if you hire me, you're looking to me for some guidance here, and I'll give that to you. But ultimately, that will be your decision, not mine. If I can get my input on something, once the board makes a decision, that becomes my opinion at that point, and I implement it.
Okay. I think the Yankees can play a big role in that. As we progress through, we're gonna get to a point where we see, all right, these lined up, we're ready to do that.
It's one of the advantages the Gantt chart has, is it is pretty easy to see overload. Because you end up with a whole bunch of bars when you're going down vertically, there's way too many for us. And you run out of people to give assignments to, or you overload them, and then you crash and burn anyway. So the Gantt chart it's about as good as it gets, and it's relatively simple. But I agree with you. As I start charting that out, it's gonna be something that we're gonna really wanna pay attention to.
I like it.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. It's very good. Any further questions from anybody or any questions, Director McGowan?
No, I do not.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Very well done. Okay. We will move out of item 7D and move into item 7E, which is board duties and board duties and responsibilities amendment number 2, which, if you want to discuss it since you wrote it, or?
Sure.
All right, so the only amendments that I made to it was
Is the title.
the section number.
So this amendments to our board duties and responsibilities policy 2025-001 that we had in place, Randy, before you got assigned to the board. We're adding section 10, district-owned vehicle operation. It's 10.1. Vehicle operation qualifications to ensure the safe and legal operation of mid-road fire district vehicles. Any member of the board of directors choosing to operate a district-owned vehicle must meet the following requirements prior to the authorization. And that's your choice as a board, as a director on the board, if you want to operate. And if you choose not to operate, then this won't apply to you because that was your choice. Prior to the authorization is a current Oregon driver's license. Directors must possess and maintain a valid current Oregon Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, driver's license. Provide a 3-year driving record background check. Directors must undergo a background check of their Oregon DMV driving record covering at least the previous 3 years. The district will review the 3-year non-employment driving record to verify a history of safe driving. Authorization to drive may be denied or revoked if a record shows major traffic offenses or a pattern of unsafe behavior that increases liability risk for the district. Annual verification, the validity of the director's license and their driving record may be reviewed annually to ensure ongoing compliance with the district's safety standards. And section 10.2 is operational requirements. Official district business. District-owned vehicles shall be used exclusively for official district business. Personal use of district vehicles is strictly prohibited. Compliance with the laws, district directors must operate vehicles in a safe and prudent manner, complying with all Oregon motor vehicle codes and district safety protocols, including the mandatory use of seat belts. Reporting requirements. Any director authorized to drive a district vehicle must immediately notify the board president of any change in their license status or any traffic violations received, whether on or off duty. Just a reminder, this is for us as the board of directors and is not part of the employment policy that I'm sure will be getting created here pretty soon.
Yes, yeah. And so this will also be, once the amendment goes into the original board duties and responsibilities, it'll be redone as version 3 because we've already had one other amendment to it. It'll add section 10 to the table of contents with 10.1 and 10.2, and then it'll be put in at the end and take up page 21 and 22 of our current document, moving the acknowledgement to page 23. So those are the changes on the main document once this is inserted. So I would entertain a motion to adopt amendment number 2, board duties and responsibilities for district-owned vehicles. Excuse me, I would entertain a motion to adopt amendment number 002 to board duties and responsibilities policy.
Before I do that, you just stated this was actually version 3.
Yes, but the policy is 2025-001,
Okay.
but it's version 3. This amendment is number 2.
Okay.
The policy
Got it,
would
I
be
get it.
version 3.
The original was
The
nothing.
original was
Okay, so it
this,
is-
it's and then there's version 2, and then there's version 3.
Got it. Makes
As
sense.
we make amendments to it, we need to change the version. This is the second amendment to that original policy, so it'll be the third version of the policy once it's rewritten.
Then I'll make the motion that we approve.
Yeah, approve.
Approve the amendment number 002, the board duties and responsibilities policy 2025-001.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussions?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question on the annual verification. It's going back 3 years. Seems like a lot of repeat.
So
I think that if we did it on appointment or reelection to a position, because that's 2 years.
So the reason I put that in there, and it says the validity of the director's license and their driving record may be reviewed annually. So if we say it's only reviewed every 3 years, and then we know that, say I start having problems, you guys know that I've acquired tickets, things like that. If we have a policy that says we only review it every 3 years, then, yeah, it's my driving record annually. So by saying may, it allows you to revisit it.
If we know you got pulled over, we may want to revisit your,
Yeah. Otherwise, it would lock us into that, we can't do it.
We have policy stating that once you're elected or appointed to a board position, that your driver's license will be, okay? So I think we should have that. If you're gonna have the ability to do it.
It's not a requirement for a board director to have a license. So you can't really put that on.
Does SDO cover all of us, or do we have to individually be named on the vehicle policy?
SDIS,
Or SDO?
yeah, so it covers the board and then added the vehicle as an item. So once we hire the executive director officially, then he needs to be added to the policy.
Okay.
And this is it's just a cleanup to make it more sound so that down the road, not saying within 5 of it, then well, it's 5 would have an issue, but just trying
That's
to
fine.
make sure we have that in place to play. And then the reason I said may is because.
And just the board members are going to be self-reported if you do that.
Correct.
Or something like
Policy.
that. If you did with it, no further conversation.
No further discussions? All right, you take the roll, please. Tom, anything from you?
Nothing further.
Okay. Take the roll, please.
Director McGowan,
Yes.
Director Benetti,
Yes.
Director Weibling,
Yes.
Director Owenby,
Yes.
and Director Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, moving down into item 7F. This is now the resolution number 2026-005 in the matter of adopting the board policy amendment number 2 to the Mid-Rogue Fire District Board Duties and Responsibilities Policy for amendment number 2. So this is just the second phase of agreeing on this amendment. We now need to officially adopt it into the board policy. So I would entertain a motion to,
Do you need to read that out loud?
yeah, well, I'm sorry. Let me read it and then I'll look for a motion. Okay, so Mid-Rogue Fire District Board of Directors Resolution 2026-005, Amendment to Board Duties and Responsibilities Policy Number 2025-001, Amendment Number 2. A A resolution of the Board of Directors of the Mid-Rogue Fire District. Whereas the Mid-Rogue Fire District is a political subdivision of the state of Oregon governed by a duly elected Board of Directors, and whereas the Board of Directors is authorized under Oregon law and district policy to establish direction, approve actions, and adopt official policies, contracts, and financial decisions, and whereas it is the best interest of the district and the residents it serves to formally document the board's actions. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Mid-Rogue Fire District hereby adopts Amendment Number 2, the addition of Section 10 to the Board Duties and Responsibilities Policy 2025-001. Be it further resolved that the resolution shall take effect on 4/13/2026 and shall remain in effect unless amended or rescinded by the Board of Directors. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept this resolution. Let me call it out. Adopts the amendment number 002, the addition of section 10 to the board duties and responsibilities of policy 2025-001.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, would you take the roll, please?
Director McGowan,
Yes.
Director Benetti,
Yes.
Director Weidling,
Yes.
Director Owenby,
Yes.
and Director Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, that ends new business. Moving into item 8, we're going to go into executive session. It'll be 2 parts today. Today is April 13th, 2026. The time is now 6:31 p.m. Mid-Rogue Fire District Board will now meet in executive session for the following agenda items. To consider employee compensation, ORS 192.660, Section 2, Paragraph A, and legal counsel update, ORS 192.660, Section 2, Paragraph H. Accredited representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Accredited representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state that the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. Accredited representatives from the news media, please identify yourself. We have none. The recorder and all recording devices, including cell phones, will now be turned off at 6:33.